Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Gaftos. I am the Program and Events Director with the Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I am joined here today with Patricia Nava, our Marketing and Communications Director, and our Executive Director, wonderful leader, Mark Moreno. So thank you, team, for joining us. Very excited to finally bring this on board. It's a very relevant topic, especially with today's world. If you're a business owner, you're always looking to see how to increase your bottom line, right? And after speaking to Dwayne Pittman, our wonderful speaker for today, with Vector Business Consulting, he is the president of Vector Business Consulting, and that's what he does, right? He really consults on your business, really dissects what your business is, really gives you advice as to have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And one big topic is government contracting. With government contracting, when I first heard about it, it does seem a little intimidating putting it in those terms. After I spoke to Dwayne, he simplified it for me and it made me see there's so many opportunities, right? He told me some stories of some of the clients that he had that they didn't realize, like once they're in the system, once they're part of that government contracting, there's so many opportunities other than just the basics that you provide that you might not be aware of that. So that's why we're bringing this on board is my business ready to sell to the government, right? Am I ready to take that next step to submit it? And if not, how do I get there? So again, this is all about increasing your bottom line, which this year's particularly everybody, you don't know what tomorrow brings. So you want to make sure that you're reaching out to every opportunity that there is out there for your business. So with that being said, Dwayne, thank you so much for taking this time to be with us. I'm going to go ahead and give you the screen and give you the floor.
Thank you, Laura. And I would like to say, first of all, thank you to all of you attendees who are here today. Um, I know how busy you are, and I know how important your time is. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that this time that we spend together is very well spent. And of course, I'd like to thank the Michigan Chamber, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, for hosting this event. Shout out, of course, to Laura Geftos, Patricia Nava, and Mark Marino for all their energy and effort that they spend helping the members, the team members, really, of the MHCC. So thank you so much for that. Is my business ready to sell to the government? Am I ready to sell to the government? Now, that's a question that many small business owners have asked themselves over a period of time. And today, you are going to answer that question yourself for your company with the tools that we're going to provide. So this workshop is designed to be your first step in helping you to determine if selling your product or service to the government is really right for your company. And additionally, we're going to talk about some of the common concerns that many of the small business owners have related to selling to the government, and in some cases has caused them not to explore this really wonderful opportunity. But then most importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to help you find the tools, develop those tools that you need to be able to value adding the government to your client base and can dramatically, really dramatically improve your bottom line. So while we're going to focus today's discussion primarily in the federal arena, I just want to open your eyes to the fact that selling to state and local agencies is also a very viable opportunity for you, which in some cases can even be done right away in less time than selling to the federal government. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're just going to be focusing on selling to the government. Get the thing to advance here. There we go. Again, my name is Dwayne Pittman, president of Vector Business Consulting. And just a little background on the company: for over 30 years, we have served federal agencies as a government contractor. We have completed hundreds of contracts and acquired extensive experience in supplying a variety of goods and services to federal agencies. As Vector Business Consulting, which is a division of Vector Electric, we are putting that expertise to work for you. as you begin or continue in your GovCon journey. Now, in this interactive workshop, we're going to spend time looking at your business the way the government looks at your business in four key areas. The first is this: exploring your capabilities. Now, during this module, you will work to unpack all of the elements of your business. And we're going to document that understanding as you continue to unpack that. Now, the quality of the work that you do in this portion is really going to be instrumental in helping you to produce good results for the rest of the workshop. So we're going to spend probably the most amount of time here because this is what's going to be the foundation for all the things that come after it in the workshop. In part two of the workshop, we're going to classify your business. Now, the government uses classifications to determine what your business is. So we're going to use the relevant information that you have developed in part one to be able to determine the proper business classification for your business and its components. And I might add this. You might think that I've only got one business classification. I do one thing. Well, we're going to help you to appreciate the fact that you do more than one thing. And we're going to unpack those things together so that you can really understand that and make sure you have the proper classifications for your business where the government is concerned. In part three, we're going to define your services. Now, the first part, in part two, we're defining your business, whereas in part three, we're going to define your services. So during this module, we're going to identify the codes for the products and services that you use. And then in part four, we're going to research our opportunities. So once you've developed this document that we're going to share an example of one in just a moment, you're going to be able to take a look at opportunities that have passed you by, but in some cases may still be out there. So what we want to do is show you that once you define your business classification and your PSC codes, you will be able to see which government agencies are buying the products and services that you sell. And in some cases, you'll be able to see how much money they're spending on some of those purchases. So that's always a good thing to see. And then we're going to conclude with questions and answers. So hopefully you'll develop some of those as we go through. And please, I know we've got a lot of material to cover, and we're going to be spending a bit of time here to do that. So if you could document your questions, and so that at the end of the program we can address those. In some cases, you could put those in the chat, and maybe Laura could capture those, and we can discuss them that way.
Yeah, of course. And also, as mentioned, this is a recording. So if you want to wait until we stop recording at the end, if that's more comfortable with you, please let me know. Just put it in the chat and I'll give you that opportunity as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura. Okay, let's begin. First of all, we're going to explore your capabilities. And what do I mean by that? Now, Laura, if you would, there's a document that Laura is going to put into the chat. And this document is the sum total of all of the items, the codes that Vector Electric uses to sell to the government. Now you'd think, well, Vector Electric is probably just an electrical contractor and they do electrical construction work. Just when you take a look at that document after you get a chance to open it up, you'll see that when you unpack all the things that you do, the government is buying a lot of pieces of your services. So it's important that you understand that. And that's why we're going to spend about 15 minutes on this portion, because you're going to start a Word doc right now. And in that Word doc, you're going to take a look at the types of services that you offer. And we're going to look at it in three different ways.
Dwayne, just before you move forward, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm having some issues dropping it in the chat, but I did email it to everyone that registered.
Okay.
So if everyone could just refer to their email box and pull it up. I'm still trying to work out a way to include it in the chat, but they could refer it to it in their email as well.
Okay. And that's the same problem I had, Laura. That's why I
I
couldn't get
know it's
it. Okay.
technology is not my friend every day, but I'll work through it. I did email it out, so I'll make sure to email it out again after this presentation to make sure everyone received it.
Wonderful. Now, again, this document is not your document, but this is how you might format your document. Now, again, we're going to be looking at three different areas: service, manufacturing, and product. So I want you to look at your business, think about your business in one of those three veins, whether you're a service company, and what I mean by service provider, you're say like B2B. You offer web design, you offer maybe carpet cleaning, building maintenance, real estate, engineering. Those are B2B type services. Okay. Now, what about personal services? We're still in the service category. You may offer personal services. That might be training, instruction, lodging, personal protection, hair care, things of that nature are things that you would classify under the business services section, but related to whether it's a business service, B2B, or B2P, as a business to personal. The next area is manufacturing. Do you make a product? What are those products? List your products. And they may include, say, medical supplies or traffic control equipment, automobile parts, circuit boards, things like that, that you actually make that you could sell to the government. And that, in fact, the government, you'll see, probably does buy. And of course, what about products? Are you a reseller? Do you wholesale products? Do you retail products? Do you represent another manufacturer and sell their product? So I'm trying to get you to think about your business in those kinds of terms, because again, what we're doing is we're unpacking your business. We're trying to see how many pieces of your business that we can sell to the government as individual things. Okay. And now I want to I guess maybe by a show of hands or anything, has everybody in a position to open a Word doc and begin to maybe think about their company, and hopefully they've seen that document that I've that sent out, and kind of get an idea of what your document might look like. Has that happened yet, Laura?
Um, Dwayne, I sent in the chat in three parts that what the document has. Are you all are able to see it in the chat boxes?
I didn't see it in my chat box, but I'm not looking at the chat box, so.
I had a few people saying they received it via email. So
Okay.
can
Okay.
somebody just unmute and just make sure that they received it and they're able to work through it?
I received
Uh,
it.
okay, perfect. And it is a document with the codes, like kind of like industry type of codes. Is that what you're referring to?
Right. And
Perfect. Okay.
so now we haven't gotten to the codes yet.
Okay.
Basically, what we're thinking about is just you taking your business. So your Word doc is going to be fresh, a fresh piece of paper, and you're going to maybe name your company name and just start jotting down some of the things that your company does. Now we're going to take about 10 or so minutes to do this. So I'm going to let you work on this, but in the meantime, it's not going to be dead space. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can think about this. And hopefully everybody is beginning that. I'm going to start my timer here. Yes. Okay. Um, Let me just kind of give you an example of things that you probably don't think about. So I was working with a client, and he asked me to come to his facility, and he did manufacturing. He had a machine shop, and he built parts of some sort. We'll just call them widgets for now. And we were walking around, and we looked at his facility, and he showed me what he did. And he said, "Well, you think the government buys this part?" I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure they do." I said, "But let me just take a look at your business a little bit, and we can see if there's something else that you might not be thinking of." So as we walked around in certain areas, I saw these big 55-gallon drums. So I asked him, what do these drums do? He said, well, they've got cutting oil in them. I said, oh, so I went around and he had them positioned all around. There must have been 150 of them throughout, big machine shop. So I went back after we did our kind of walk around. I got on the government site and I just put in there cutting oil. I came back with a solicitation from the Air Force that was going to be due within the next week for 55-gallon drums of cutting oil to be drop shipped at a naval supply depot there on the East Coast. His mind was blown. He had never thought that he could possibly sell something that he always, which was a component of his business. He had to buy these drums, and he made a point of buying well, so he was getting a good price for them. And I explained to him for a supply depot drop, all you're doing is drop shipping it. It was he wasn't signed up with the government at that point, so he couldn't actually uh, you know move on the solicitation. But it opened his eyes to looking at his business. So I shared that with you only to help you appreciate the fact that your business model has different modules in it that you may be overlooking. What do you buy? What do you have to use? How do you do your business? How do you go to get to that end product? You're probably doing other things, or you're buying other things from other people in some kind of quantity at good prices. Those are the kinds of things I want you to think about as you go through this part of our discussion today. I'm trying to get my timer here. Okay. Let's think about being a service provider. One time I was looking at the solicitations, and I kept seeing this one request from the Navy keep coming back. It was just out there all the time. And I just kind of, caught my attention. So I paid attention to the codes that it was asking for. And there was a different set of codes that we won't discuss in this particular meeting. But I did the research on that code, and I found out that what was happening was that the vendors who were supposed to be supplying this didn't understand the code, so they couldn't supply the piece of equipment. So I just did the research, and I found the part that it belonged to. These are called NSN codes. Everything that the government buys has an NSN code, National Stock Number. And I found the NSN code, and I found the description, and all it was a piece of it was a electrical device, something that we bought all the time. So I responded to it and got the award. So what I'm suggesting is that it was something that we buy all the time. It was a piece of conduit, a conduit elbow. But for some reason, none of the other vendors were using that NSN number and understood what that part was. It was because I did the research, I found what the part was and got the award. It's things like that that will help you to appreciate, how you can kind of decompose your business, break down your business so that you can understand how you can sell to the government. So those two examples, I hope will give you some idea of how you might go about doing that. And now at this point, if anybody has a question that relates to their particular business that maybe they're thinking that they'd like to ask, this is the time to do it while we've got this few moments. Does anybody have a question about how they might break down their particular offering to the government?
So feel free to unmute anyone. This is an interactive workshop to get the best out of Dwayne while we have him here. So feel free to unmute, or even if you don't have a specific question, if you want to maybe explain your business a little bit, and say why you're here, that's a great start as well. So we'll leave so we have Alicia King who is on the call and she does desserts. So that's all she put on there.
Okay.
Um, any insight on that?
Well, let's think about desserts. So that would be, we'd probably call that, well, I guess you might fall into a business service because you're going to be, are you catering those desserts? Are you making them and then selling them in bulk? How are you doing that?
I make them and sell them, and then I also sell them in bulk as well.
Okay. So let's think about how you might go about doing that. Now, are they packaged? How are you packaging them?
Yeah, from when I sell them locally, I just have them in just a regular packaging. But if I ship them, then I shrink wrap them and put ice on them and ship them out.
Okay. Well, the government does buy food. There's no question about that. They buy desserts, they buy, main courses. So I think, make sure that you put that, I would probably put that down under service providers as well as, you know, uh, maybe even manufacturer at this point. And this is just going to kind of open up some situations for us as we input this into the database. How do you in making this, what about your raw material?
I mean, I have it in like tubs and things like that. So um, I just buy it from like Gordon's or Sam's or something in bulk like that.
Okay. So if you're again going back to the um, explanation that I gave about the oil drums to the Air Force, um, if you're buying in bulk and you're able to offer a good price to the government, 'cause I'm sure they're buying all the pieces of your offering. So that may be something that we can take a look at too.
And
So just
okay, so
Thank you.
I'm trying to go in order here. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you so much. Again, don't be shy. No question is too small or too big. I do have a hand up. Charles Tate, if you want to go next.
Yes, my name is Charles Tate. I'm with Bank of America. One of the reasons why I joined the call is I want to obtain information such as this to be able to express to my customer base as the economy is changing throughout for ways for them to be able to generate revenue or new sources of revenue and maybe even existing sources, but to be able to expand upon that. So I do thank you all for setting this up for us.
thank you, Charles. Charles happens to be our banking partner. So we offer as a part of our services, in fact, we offer our network and the resources of our network. And we make introductions to small businesses that need resources like banking or real estate or insurance or bonding, things of that nature. So, Charles, thanks for coming on today. We truly appreciate the help that Bank of America gives us in related to our offerings and to those that we send their way.
Yeah, thank you, Charles. And again, Dwayne is a great resource. So is the chamber. We're a great trusted connector. So if you have any um, clients through Bank of America that have specific questions, we usually know who to refer them to, and Dwayne is a great resource.
Thank
I do have one more or a couple of more that came through the chat with ComSA or ComSA USA. I'm looking to do wholesale coffee. Every time I look at an opportunity, but then I click on the details, it has nothing to do with coffee. I'm not sure if you want to unmute for whoever put that on or if you want to provide any insight, Dwayne.
That's
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry. Go ahead if you've got a comment to make, please.
Okay. Yeah. So it's Comsa USA,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Coffee Organic Marcala. I represent my dad and 1,500 farmers, so it's direct trade coffee. What we normally do is we sell in green. So they've been selling green coffee for 21 years, And what I am trying to do now is directly source the coffee to then sell to consumers or B2B. That way we can give more to the farmers and take out the middleman as much as possible. um, I've gone after, looked for some contracts. I've tried to find something, even with the Navy or the military. And then when I go in there and search for coffee, I read all the information, documents, and then when I get to like where it could say coffee or the NAICS codes, it says something like equipment or weapons or something else. I never get to the coffee section. So I'm wondering, I know you're saying they do look for desserts and food. How do I find stuff for coffee?
That's a good question. I'd probably spend some time working with you to see how you're searching.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a little tricks, and I'll tell you just a little secret. What I have found in days gone by is sometimes the contracts are worded in a way that it would be difficult to find unless you were somebody who knew.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's probably what you're experiencing. But
Yeah.
there's I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say thank you for telling me about the manufacturing. I didn't put manufacturing as a NAICS code because we essentially the manufacturing is in Honduras, but it makes sense for us to put that down as manufacturers.
Absolutely. And I just as you were talking, um, we might want to look directly for you at the military on the bases. Each military base has a commissary, and those products it's possible to get your products in at the military commissary. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for you. Maybe we can talk offline about how that might develop.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I will be sharing Dwayne's email address as well. So if you have specific questions or want to set up a one-on-one, I'm sure he'll be happy to do that as well. We have another one from Lisa Harper. I think just kind of describing her business. She put it as 1, service, trash removal and trash container placement. 2, product, trash container, hopper, and 3, manufacturing replacement trash cans. Lisa, do you want to unmute and explain that a little bit more?
Hi, hello, and thank you. Yes, so essentially my business is like it's for I want to like I live in the city of Detroit and I want to get rid of like the waste and whatnot and just help with blight. So it's a service in order to be able to actually help people place their trash cans properly because sometimes people leave them out, obviously causing like more issues with regards to rodents and just trash, debris like in the streets. Additionally to that, like essentially, I'm just sharing this. I wanted it to be like a DoorDash for trash cans. Like, because everybody's not able to take their trash out and they don't have that even want to, or they're not able. So just a way to like have everyone help to sustain, a better environment. From that, I was trying to think of different like ways to go and branch off. I wanted to develop a like topper, for lack of a better term, essentially like a condom that would go on top of the trash can that could be, when it's dumped, the trash is dumped, it would, you know, allow for the trash to be able to, be picked up, but also to contain so that rodents and, other people aren't using or misusing those opportunities because the trash can's out. And then finally, I thought about just that people sometimes need replacement trash cans, and sometimes those alternatives, may be smaller just based on the size and also the price. So I was going to try to use, sustainable materials in order to create, opportunity for better trash containment for individuals. So I know it's probably like more B2P, but I also figured there might be some ways just based on the fact that everybody doesn't know where trash should go, things like that.
Okay, well that's nice. In fact, so obviously you're looking at some manufacturing there. I heard manufacturing, um, and it sounded like in addition to the government, you're probably also looking at maybe some state and local too. So at this point, let's focus on getting your NAICS codes in there, so that we can build on that. So it sounds like you're almost at the point where we can start identifying your NAICS codes. So let's see how that develops as we move into our next module. So I think we're pretty much at the time for our first module. Does
Yeah,
everybody, I'm sorry, go ahead, Laura.
no, that's okay. I have Kinell Friday on here just saying that I'm a self-publisher. I know we're limited on time, so I think we want to move on a little bit. So maybe she could speak on that a little bit more in the next one.
Okay. Yeah, we can still just continue these discussions as we're moving forward. Okay, wonderful. Okay. So now you should have a document that has your name on it, your company's name, and some uh, entries under either service, manufacturing, or product, or both, or all. So that's what we're trying to accomplish at this point. Okay, hopefully that has been done. So let's move on to our next module, which is classify your business. Now, this is important. If you noticed on the document that I sent out, Vector Electric, which was a electrical contractor, had about 20 NAICS codes. And that's because we truly decomposed the work that we did. We sell conduit. Because we buy conduit, we sell conduit. Because we buy wire and use it, we sell conduit and wire to the government, and so on and so forth. We put in light fixtures. We have to buy light fixtures so we can sell those same light fixtures to the government. That's how we break down your business. Use the pieces of your business that you have to combine to produce your product or service, and look at those as individual things that you might offer to the government. Now, in doing the classification of your business, there's a thing called the North American Industry Classification System, which is NAICS, and you've probably heard that before for some of you who were in the DEFCON type arena. There is a website that's put out by the Census Department, census.gov/NAICS. And don't go there yet, but I want you, because we're going to need to talk about what you're going to do when you get there. Okay, so when you go to that website, it's going to open up, and you're going to see a page that's going to give you a number of different years of NAICS codes. You want to go to the 2022 NAICS code search. And if you notice here, I've got that highlighted in red. When you push that button, you'll get actually this page here that I've got shown here. And on that page, you'll see a number of what they call sectors. I want you now to think about your business, think about the things that you've written down in your Word doc, and see what sectors that your business flows into. Now, say we're just going to take, for example, electrical. And electrical is in the construction category. So that's in 23. So if I push on 23, oh, I can't do it on this one. Sorry about that. This is not a real document. But when you push on 23, what that'll happen is you'll get a number of results. Those results you'll scroll through, and you will find your specific the things that are specific to your business. Now, there's going to probably be more than one. I want you to take the time to scroll through those, and for every one of the sectors that you select, touch it and go through and see how many of those NAICS codes work for your product. You'll find some that are a really good fit, and you'll find some that may be a loose fit. But the decision is up to you, because you can't have too many NAICS codes. And I'll explain that to you. As you start this process. So we're going to take about 15 minutes for that. And while you're doing that, I will just kind of explain some things to you as to why that's so important, the NAICS codes. So the government classifies your business as one of these numbers. It does that so when it's putting on a solicitation, the contracting officer will use that classification to identify what he wants to buy. In my case, it might have been electrical, it might have been a construction project or something like that. So that's why these classifications are so important. Now, why is it important to have a number of classifications? Because when the contracting officer goes to buy your product or service, if you don't have that classification in your body of documentation on the SAM site, which we have yet to get there yet, they can't buy it from you, or you can't sell it to them. So when you're bidding on something, you are going to want to make sure that you have that classification in your body of documentation. And it's very easy to add it, and you can't have too many. However, you want to be careful. You want to be careful that, for instance, say you sell shoes, and you're selling shoes and boots to the government, and you're making millions of dollars. Okay. But you put in your NAICS codes that you also do engineering work. And the government goes to give you a contract, and your primary NAICS code is in boots and shoes. And they would like to award you a contract doing engineering. They're probably not going to award that to you because the classifications don't connect some way. There's no reason to believe that if you're selling boots, that you are an engineer too. So that's the point. So make sure that your NAICS codes make sense to what you're doing. And you will have a primary NAICS. And we won't necessarily get into that, but your primary NAICS is going to be the one that the government sees you as doing primarily. So your other NAICSs have to kind of address that in some way. That you got to be able to make a case for that and being a possibility that you could be an expert, because the government wants experts. They're buying expertise, your expertise. So make sure that you are able to demonstrate that expertise by what your NAICS codes say. Any thoughts to that? Now this is a bigger part of your lesson here. So I want to make sure that you get this, you take the time to do this right. And if you have any questions at this point, please share those with me, and we'll try to work through it. As you accumulate those NAICS codes, you can just copy and paste those onto your document. That's why my document that I sent out looks like that. When I found the NAICSs, I just copied it and then pasted it into my Word doc.
No questions so far in the chat, but again, anyone can unmute at any point.
I'll share one thing with you. As an electrical contractor, we bought a lot of things, and one of the things we bought were light fixtures. So one time we saw a solicitation at an Army depot where they wanted a specific light fixture, and they had it detailed all out, and we knew what it was. They also had the manufacturer. So and they wanted to buy this particular fixture. So what we did was we reached out to that manufacturer, and we told them that we would sell their product for them to the government and as a reseller. And we made an agreement with them, and we did that. And then I changed my NAICS codes to show light fixture manufacturer. And that's how easy it is. You can just go back on the site, your SAM site, and just change a code, add a code, take a code off, or whatever. So I added light fixture manufacturer. Well, sure enough, we got a solicitation from the supply depot for that particular fixture. We were the reseller of it, but we were basically their manufacturer's rep. So we sold them. It's that easy, and it's that hard. I mean, it's clearly you have to be knowledgeable of the system and how it works, but That's kind of our job, but there's also other resources for you to use too. There are some free resources that you can use too. And we always ask or make sure that our clients take full advantage of all the free resources that are available to them. And what we do is we work in conjunction with those free resources or in addition to. And that's how we are able to function as a consultant for the government. So by now your Word doc should begin to start developing. You should have some NAICS codes on there. Now, you're not going to have 17, 18, so don't feel like you've got to try to populate the page. Just, again, this is your business. At the end of this discussion, if nothing else, you will have dissected your business in such a way that you could actually talk to a contracting officer or another business who is buying those particular services that you have, and that you could give them the NAICS codes for what you're doing. So that's what this discussion here today is about, is helping you understand how the government looks at your business and how you can present your business to other businesses, if nothing else, that are already offering services to the government. How is everybody doing? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was just going to mention no additional questions in the chat.
Okay.
But yeah, I was going to ask the same thing, how everyone is doing on their documents. If you have any questions on the codes, anything like that, please feel free to unmute.
Those codes can be a little daunting, and there's explanations for the codes, so you have to read through those. So I just wanted to take a pulse. Does everybody feel like they're getting close? And we can give Laura a show of hands or not.
Lisa said yes.
Most of them said yes. Okay.
I've got one that said yes, so I'm sure everyone's working on it. And then Kamsa said, let's say some of the work is done overseas, example, roasting. Do I put that still?
I'm sorry, Laura, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so this is the coffee. So they said, let's say some of the work is done overseas, example, the roasting of their coffee. Do I put that still?
Well, no, I mean your assembly, your product is I'm assuming you're saying you want to say your product is manufactured in the United States. So that's a component of your final product. So I would say at this point I wouldn't worry about that. However, there are things called reps and certs in government contracting. And that's called short for representations and certifications. And depending on what you're supplying to the government, your reps and certs may have to be, you may have to identify things like that if parts are made in another country, because there are some barriers where they're concerned. I was working on one project where we were installing security equipment at federal buildings, and there was a big brouhaha about some equipment that was purchased in China. Now, the government had been buying this equipment in China. In fact, they specified that we buy it from this particular manufacturer. But then all of a sudden, the government said, no, you can't buy security equipment specifically from China anymore. It has to be American made. And that upended our contract. We're still able to complete, but we had to, send the other equipment back, buy new equipment. It extended the time frame of delivery, a bunch of other things. So all I'm trying to say is make sure you are aware of those things, and in your reps and certs on a contract, you just make sure that if it calls for a designation there, then you're going to want to make sure that you represent and certify, how your product is made. So that's an excellent question.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else have any questions?
Does everybody feel like they're getting close, or we can move on if everybody's close, or we can wait. If the majority is close, we can move on. Laura, I'll let
Yeah,
me know.
I think let's move on.
Okay.
And again, I'll be asking the questions as they come in through the chat. So please don't be shy. Again, this is a great opportunity to really ask the questions. So let's go ahead and move on, but people still feel free to ask any questions in the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura. Okay. Now we're at the point where we're going to define our services. Now, in part 2, remember, we were defining our business. In this part here, now we're going to define our services, products and services. Now, typically this is usually a smaller part, but again, just give me a moment and we'll discuss how you're going to go about accomplishing this. These are called product service codes, PSC codes. And this is a very important part. If you notice in the document that I sent, there were PSC codes on the bottom. Those are the products that we sold. Now, if you notice, I mentioned that we sold light fixtures to the government. But if you notice on my document, I didn't list manufacturing light fixtures. That's because this document, your PSCs and your NAICSs are fluid. So I took them out when I needed to offer some other product or service. That's all. So it's just a way of making sure, though, that when you are offering something, make sure your PSCs and your NAICS are accurate for what you're doing. So let's get into to what you're doing here now. Okay, your product service codes are in a website called acquisition.gov/PSC manual. Acquisition.gov/PSC manual. When you go to that site, you will see a page that has a PDF file on the left-hand side that says Product Service Codes Manual. And it's a PDF document. Download that document. Don't push on it and try to use it in your browser. Download it onto your desktop and then open it from your PDF reader or something, or your PDF, whether it's a full PDF or just a PDF reader. Do not try to use it online. It'll just foul everything up for you, slow everything down. So once you do that, you want to download the 2024 manual. And once you've opened it up in your reader, the easy way to find your products and services, now you're going to go back to your document that you've been building and find the keywords in your services or in your business classification and use the Control F function for find. And when you do Control F, you'll see a little text box come up, and then use that to search that document. And when you do that, you'll find that you'll find the recurring instances of whatever it is you're looking for. Say if it's electrical, we'll say. But say it's IT, network. You put that in there and it'll show you all the instances of IT networking. Now, when you do that, you will start to see, you'll finally get to the codes. And the codes and then read the information in the code and see if that is what you're referring to, because you're going to find that there's a lot of instances of the word, say, IT, but they all don't apply to something that you're doing. So it's going to take a bit of time. We're going to use, say, 15 minutes for this. And that will allow you to be able to again, document your code. So you can kind of look at my document and you can see how the NAICS codes and how the PSC codes work together. They don't, they're not so far out of line that it would cause the government to say this guy is an expert at nothing. And you don't want that to happen because they do look at that. And in fact, they have to as a part of their effort as a contracting officer. So when you do that, again, capture those codes and then drop them into your Word doc. And gradually your document is going to start looking something like the one I sent over. As you're doing that, I can just maybe share a couple of other things. Many times people are afraid, and I think I mentioned this earlier. Sometimes people are afraid of working with the government. They think that we're not going to get paid. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of red tape. There's just too many things that I have to do to be able to be a government vendor. And the first element, will I get paid? That is probably the biggest fallacy that most small businesses have, that they won't get paid. And in fact, the government is probably the best payer out there. We used to work for municipal and state and commercial entities, and sometimes the sky's the limit on when your 30 days starts, and you finally get your money. That's not the case with the federal government. The federal government works off a set of governance called the FAR, F-A-R, Federal Acquisition Regulations. And the FAR details very distinctly how the government has to pay you, when the government has to pay you, and any issues that come up in the contract are dealt with in the FAR. It's the best way to work with anybody, quite frankly. If commercial entities had a FAR, there'd be a lot more successful businesses, I think. But the point is that there's no relevance in the fact that you will not get paid working with the federal government. What causes people not to get paid sometimes is the fact that they don't complete their documentation in a timely fashion or correctly, it's incomplete. Those are the things that cause the government to reject your payment and delay that time frame. So those are some of the common fallacies that are out there that people are concerned about sometimes related to working with the government, and they're just not true. This is something that's come up recently a lot, that I'm hearing a lot from some of our clients, is they're concerned about working for the government now with all the recent changes that are happening in the government. And they're asking, is this a good time? Is this really a good time to really be investing the little bit of time that I have as a business owner into looking at the government more seriously? And that's a valid concern. Clearly it is. Any time of change, there's risk involved. But let me just say it this way. The government has always been looking to change and downsize and decrease federal workers. Now, I'll give you a personal story of that in a moment. But I'll start it with this. The government will always need vendors. That's the way the government works. It may not need employees, but it will always need vendors. And in fact, in some cases, the people who are the jobs that are not being covered by employees will now be covered by vendors. And here's an example, personal example happened to me. I used to work for the Department of Justice, and I ran a team. One day, we found out that our whole level was going to be eliminated. The government was eliminating all of its skilled workers. We had a whole staff of skilled workers. They were called green shirts. And our entire green shirt staff was going to be eliminated with very few remaining. Of course, we were all very concerned. But what I had done prior to that was we had set up a company to do electrical work. And we used that opportunity to begin to contract. Basically, what happened was for all intents and purposes, I left an employee one day and came back a contractor. So, I'm not, this is not a political discussion here. I want you to know that. All I'm saying is that the government will always need and has always needed vendors. And it's your job to take advantage of the possibility that some of the existing connections that have been made out there will not exist in the future, and they're going to need to rebuild those with new people, new faces. And this is your opportunity to position yourself to be there with what you need to be able to fill those spaces. So that's why I tell my customers, yes, this is a good time to get into and prepare your business for government contracting, because it's basic resiliency. Are you able to deal with the change? And if your company it's agile enough to be able to move with the changes, then you're going to be in the position to be able to capture some of those contracts that were held by other companies that were not able to do that. So hopefully that's an encouraging thought for you.
Yeah, thank you for that note, Dwayne. I think in today's climate, I think anything that has to do with the government can be, as I mentioned, intimidating to business owners. I think it's very important to know that um, the only way to guarantee you're not going to get business is if you don't go out for it, right? You just never know. The time spent could, bring you up to your budget for a month or so just by one sale. You just never know. So it's always good to take the time and really take every opportunity that's out there. So thank you for mentioning that. No other questions in the chat, so I think we could keep it going.
Okay. So do you want to move on to the next portion then, or do you want to just? Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. But again,
Okay.
if anybody has any questions or want to wait till the end, that's perfectly fine as well.
Wonderful. Okay. So now we have defined our business, created the NAICS codes that define your business as far as the government is concerned, in your industry classification, and now we've looked at our services, and we've looked at the PSC codes, the product service codes, which identify to the government which things you can sell to them, okay, product-wise. So now we're going to research our opportunities. So hopefully, again, your document has some structure to it, some weight to it, and you've got some things to research. Now, I've got 20 minutes for this part. It may not take that long, and we don't have to use up every bit of time here just because we said till 1 o'clock. I want to use the time that it takes you to be able to know that you've got some value. You can walk away from this discussion, whether it is you choose to begin, as a federal contractor tomorrow or next month. I want you to have something that will help you start that path. So as we research opportunities, we use a tool that the government has built called SAM, and that's the System for Award Management. In order to get an award from the federal government, you have to be a registered SAM participant. And the outcome of that is what's called a CAGE code, CAGE code. And that code identifies you as a entity with the government. The entity code for my company is 1TGC8. We've had that code since about 2000, 2001, about 25 years. But in order for you to actually get an award, you must have this code. Now, we're not going to get into actually getting the code today. We're going to get into right now just researching to see if you have something that the government wants to buy. And we're going to do that by navigating to sam.gov. You're going to use, as you see up in the corner, the search feature. Now, you can't log in, so you don't have to log in. You can search for government contracts without being a registered member. It's just that you can't get them. But I'll teach you something here that can help you, even if you're not registered yet. But in any case, so you press the search button, and when you do that, you're going to get, I'm going to actually show you on mine here. When you press that search button, you're going to get a dialog box, and you're going to enter your search up in this box up here. And the search criteria is going to be what you put in your either for your NAICS codes or for your PSC codes. Now, the reason why I had you copy and paste those, because the verbiage in there is going to be part of the wording. You don't want to try to make your search so long so that it can't, it's so specific it won't find anything. So you want to find some of the key words in some of those NAICS classifications or some of your PSC classifications so that you can come back with a search that's relevant to you. So doing that, we'll get you started on that. And I said we had said 20 minutes. I don't think we're going to take 20 minutes on that. But in the meantime, are there any questions on anything we've discussed, anything that's been stated, any questions that you have? Now, we've still got a question and answer period too, but this is a good opportunity to share your thoughts. One of the things that I mentioned about using the sam.gov even prior to you getting your cage code, because there's more features. When you're able to sign in, there's more features available to you related to searching. I can search, I can find, I can search a company. For instance, I met a company at a mixer a few months ago, and they gave me their card. And I, took a look at their card, and they were already a government contractor. And I looked on their card, and I saw their cage code. So I went to sam.gov, typed in their cage code. Their company came up, and it gave me all the relevant information on their company. A comment there?
So I think just someone joined without unmuting. You're good.
Okay. Gave me all the relevant information on their company, how long they've been in business. I was actually able to see their contracts, which contracts, what they'd sold to the government, how much they'd sold. There's a bevy of information that's available that would help you. Now, how might I use that information? Well, it gave me the opportunity, one, to be able to get enough information on their company where I could maybe approach them as a subcontractor to what they did. So they're already involved in government contracting. So don't think that just because you're not able to, you don't get a prime contract, that you aren't able to get a subcontract. And at that point, you use SAM to be able to identify those companies who are doing what you might have done so that you can basically get a piece of the pie. How do you do that? Well, you approach them, but you also have to have your company has to be ready for that type of capability. That's one of the things we help you with. So, many times it's just a matter of business intelligence. understanding how best to market your firm until you get to the point that you can prime. Vector Electric, when we first got into government contracting, we were just doing subcontracts, but it's very lucrative just doing subcontracts until we built our company to the point where we could actually start priming. At that point, now we're hiring companies to do the work that we had basically sold to the government. So there's a lot of different ways. Don't think that you have to be the person who actually signs the contract with the government. You can sign your contract with a prime contractor and be just as happy financially as you would had you been the prime without the legal responsibilities too. So there's a lot of opportunities to team and subcontract.
Okay. Thanks, Dwayne. All right, so I don't know that there's any more questions or comments unless anybody wants to unmute or put it in the chat. I think this is a lot of information to take in, right? And
No,
on paper
absolutely.
it does look intimidating, but it's really it's also another resource for that market research, right? To see what other people are doing that may be similar to you and maybe get in on that. So utilizing this, knowing about it, knowing how to navigate it, and knowing who to ask is absolutely key for any business owner. So I think we can move on, Dwayne. Again, I don't know, it's a pretty quiet bunch, so if you want to hold off and ask your questions later on, or connect to Dwayne directly, I will absolutely be sending his email address as well. Or if you know of other business owners that could be very, benefit from something like this, please refer them to us. We're all about, sustaining your business and how do you get to that next step. So absolutely ask any questions or reach out to us. But I think we're good to move on, Dwayne.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's actually is the last slide, other than the question and answer. And again, I just wanted to have a slide on there. My website is on there. We have a section on our website for info. So if you have a question, you can use our website and you can send your questions in, and of course email Dwayne@vectorbusinessconsulting.com, and our website is vectorbusinessconsulting.com. We enjoy working with businesses of all sorts. And you might think, well, how would an electrical contractor know anything about my business? And that's a question we get a lot is, you don't have the expertise. The beauty of government contracting, federal contracting, is that FAR, the governance that they use. The Federal Acquisition Regulations dictates how all government contracts have to work. So it doesn't matter what your discipline is. It still has to be managed by the FAR. So I ask you about the specifics about your business. When it comes to how to manage your contract in the government vertical, the FAR dictates that. So just in case you have that question, that's the answer to that. The FAR dictates how we manage our interactions with you, and how you might run your contract. Additionally, as we mentioned before, there are state and local opportunities that you can take advantage of. It's just a matter of knowing that they're there, which now you're aware of if you weren't before, and starting to research those. Same way we just did. And you can do it just by going to the government website and seeing how they solicit their contracts. And finally, I did want to make mention of the fact that there are free resources available to you. There's the Department of Defense funds a government entity called the Apex Accelerators. They used to be called PTACs, but now they're called Apex Accelerators. So APEX Accelerators. I personally am a member of the Schoolcraft Apex. go to your Apex. They're free resources. The things that I've shown you today, they will show you too in their classes. And they have resources that, again, I don't have. They're able to buy programs that do, search patterns for your particular type of business that could bring up results I couldn't find. So my job is not to replace the Apex. That's a free resource. Please use your Apexes. But my job is to work in conjunction with them and also in addition to them. So for instance, the Apex has time that they work 9 to 5. Well, you may be working on your bid at 8:30. We are a real-time resource. You can pick up your phone and you can call us if you're one of our clients, and we will respond to help you. Of course, we do those after-hours calls, by design. So, But the point is that we work with the Apexes to make sure that you get what you need, especially all the free resources that are out there.
Yeah. Thanks, Dwayne. Thank you so much for bringing that up also. I mean, there is so many free resources out there. So take advantage of it. Learn, do your research, and take advantage of every opportunity.
Yes.
I think at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, just in case anybody wants to ask any specific questions about their business that they don't want on record. So if you're watching this recording, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any other questions, reach out to me at lgaptos@mhcc.org or go to our website at mhcc.org. So you could take a look at all the wonderful workshops, events, anything that we do. And I know my colleague Patricia Nava wants to say a couple words before we stop recording as well.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dwayne, for this wonderful opportunity and this learning process that you took us through, that we probably have to go through a couple of times to get it done correctly. And thank God that you're here to help us, to have all the business owners right here. So thank you for these, and thank you, Laura, for making this possible for all our business members. We know this is one of the themes that we've been asked a lot, especially in these times. So this is a wonderful information for all of us. And I just wanted to add, when you mentioned Apex, just wanted to tell you, all of you are here in this call, that Apex is our member. Schoolcraft is our member as well. So when you go to our website on www.mhcc.org, you will go to upcoming events, and then we do have all those wonderful resources that you're mentioning right there. Those free webinars and different topics, not just the government, but how to even write a contract, things like that. So just take advantage as well. Go to our website because there's free resources for you as well.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Patricia. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now. Thank you, everyone.